Hello and welcome, ladies and gents. I hope you can hear us. I hope you can see us. All of the good stuff. It has been, as we've been discussing, a hot minute. But why you say the word hot minute, we don't know. But it's been a while since we've done an episode of 2.5 Talent. It's probably been a good few months. So a lot has happened in the Counter-Strike world. We felt now, coming off the back of the player break, prior to the first big tournament of the year starting, no better time to kick back in towards a bit of a podcast and all of the rest. We have got a bunch of stuff to discuss. We've got EWC starting quite literally tomorrow if you're watching this on stream, or today probably if you're watching this on YouTube. We've also got blast groups coming up. The transfer window's just closed with a lot of the teams going for basically their final roster changes. That'll be them set more or less for the major and the whole second half of the year. And then what is going to happen for the second half of the year? We'll be talking about kind of who we think is going to be ending up top, what the top level of the scene is going to be looking like, and all of the rest. But before we do any of that, as we always do, fellas, what have we been up to? Trevor, want to start us off? What's been kicking, man? What
Sure. I mean, I think one of the main reasons why we haven't done an episode in so long is it's not just because there's been a ton of work to do pre-player break. It's because actually, like in the player break, it didn't really kick off. Like the roster changes didn't really kick off until maybe like a week or so ago, when the roster lock had to come in for Blast and all those other events, right? So once the roster lock was in, that's when it really kicked off, and that's why we decided to do an episode now. Pre-player break, I think, as I said, another reason we were all just really, really busy. I think I had a portion where I think I had an online broadcast every day for about 3 or 4 weeks, which is kind of crazy. Honestly, couldn't be more grateful, but it is kind of wild that it was basically completely consistent. Loved that. Really, really grateful to end off pre-player break with ESL Challenger Young shipping as well. To be able to round off your season with a in-person LAN in abroad is always a really nice feeling. And then in the player break, sort of immersed myself in all the sports that I love. I had a chance to go to Wimbledon for the first time. I've loved tennis since I was 4 years old. Had a chance to go. Me and Paladin have been bonding over it because we're both tennis enjoyers. Absolutely loved it. It was a great day. Got Court 1 tickets as well, so the second show court, pretty sick. And yeah, very, very enjoyable. Been loving the Euros, even though the final didn't go too well. And been loving watching the Formula One and all that all sort of biz as well. It's nice that the player break got filled up with some incredible sport to sort of take us through to the beginning of the next CS season.
It was kind of perfect, wasn't it? That we got the second we get a bit of downtime, we get ramped up in every major competition, basically all concluding on the same day. So
the Olympics are still to come as well.
I know, it's like 10 days, something like that. So it's pretty crazy. Let's just see whether the French shit in the river or anything like that coming up. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but like it's actually
it's actually crazy. Yeah,
Trevor, you seem perplexed. Have you heard about this?
Say it again.
So the French are gonna shit in the river. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I haven't heard about that.
just out of context, not CS related.
The most French shit ever. Man.
Yeah. They're like protesting the government because they said that they would clean the river. I forget what it's called. The river.
The sign?
Yeah, it's a sign. Yeah. Basically, their equivalent of the River Thames, right? They said they clean it up and make it so like clean enough that you could swim in it, which you definitely couldn't do in the River Thames. That thing is still like dirty as.
It's literally. I saw a TikTok literally a week ago. Steve Backshall, Deadly 60 legend, like listing off like literally a whole page of all the diseases in the Thames.
Yeah.
Don't even let your dog drink from the Thames.
Yes.
It's toxic. So
So I think the French one is like basically as bad. And they said they're going to clean it up and make it so you can swim by the Paris Olympics. But then they're protesting something. I can't remember the specifics, but essentially as part of this protest, Macron is right. He's in charge at the moment. He's going to go swim like on the day before the Olympics or whatever starts, and everyone's going to shit in the river. So it's actually quite a funny way to protest. But off topic, Paladin, what has the last month or so brought you? I think it's been about 2 months. So that sort of time period. What have you been up to?
I haven't shitten in any rivers, but I was I was pretty busy as well, as Trav said. It's always a super awesome time when you are just backed up with broadcast after broadcast. I think it does a lot of good work for us as casters to kind of hone our craft, even if it's like not the most high octane games, like I think consistency and repetition is like super important for us, and sometimes it's really hard to do that. So that was a really cool time to be as busy as we were. Of course, Thunderpick, CCT, all that good stuff. And then I picked up a couple stuff for here and there for you, Neil, with IESF, which was also a cool opportunity. Got to cast with Anders. Super cool dude. It was an honor to be a part of that. And yeah, I think same thing as Travis again with the sports. I mean, it's been really fun to watch Copa America. I honestly thought it was much more enjoyable than the Euros. That's just me personally. But yeah, Copa America and the Wimbledon, of course, and a lot of baseball. Baseball's kind of heating up now, and basically I'm moving to Philadelphia in about a couple weeks' time now. So basically trying to get ready for that move and trying to like figure out the apartment and like shipping the PC and all that janky stuff. And I'm not looking forward to fixing all of it right now. It's still kind of in the back of my head, but soon enough I'll be there and it'll be good for me.
Yeah, fair enough. And I guess around that, I was just checking. I think the last episode we did, boys, was, I'm looking now, March. So it has actually been, it's been a while, in all fairness. So that's been quite a lot. I guess since March, obviously we've done quite a lot of online work, all of us together in some way, whether it was working Thunderpick or we're all involved in ESL in some way in terms of the online circuit, whether it was Challenger League.
There was Compass as well.
Yeah, qualified Compass.
March.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Paladin did a bit of the online portion, didn't do the main stage. And then we had, I guess the other big one probably since then, the two big ones, obviously Challenger on Spring with Trav. That was good fun. I was on the desk. Yeah, it was pretty fun. You can't complain. It's always good to work Challenger events. They're a real staple, I guess. Once you start doing the online circuit, it's kind of a nice transition to kind of get the teams that you focus on and follow a lot. And then I did the cool event in Mongolia, which I guess we haven't done episodes. I wouldn't have spoke about it, but with Mesa, worked for the Mesa Nomadic, it was called. And it was basically 4 Asian teams, 4 European teams in a studio, not even a 3-day studio, and then a 2-day arena LAN. There was like 6,000 people, or I think, or no, something between like, they said like estimated something between like 4,000 to 6,000. It was pretty cool. It was like the biggest arena in Mongolia. And it was packed for the final game. And Mongols won 3-1, and then they went straight from there to Yala and won that. That kind of started their little streak. But yeah, that was cool. Did that. And then, yeah, we also had player break. Had the Euros. England was shit. I don't really care, though. Like, I'm not really a huge England fan, so it was kind of just like, I just think like Southgate is just like an absolute like fraud. He's just like tactically inept. So I'm glad he's kind of gone. I don't really care. Like, I don't really care about England winning. I just want to play like nice football. Like I said this like earlier, I'd actually rather us exit in like the quarterfinals, the round of 16, but play attractive football than like scrape our way all the way to a final, which you didn't deserve.
We had like one good half in the entire event,
yeah,
right?
Like
our goals were kind of nice, low key, but we only went aggressive when we actually bloody needed to, and it was so frustrating.
I did see a stat though, which said like we had like a 0.03 like expected goals.
Yeah.
So it just shows that all our goals were just like basically flukes as well. So yeah, Euros was fun. Like the start of the Euros though was amazing when it was like all those Balkan countries playing against each other, because they just do not give a fuck. Like they would like 30 yards out, shoot. Like, which like when you watch like the top teams like Germany or England or Spain or whatever, they will try and kind of walk it in a little bit. Yeah, you see kind of something like Turkey or like any of those kind of teams like that. Switzerland, Xherdan Shaqiri, they're just gonna bang it. But so yeah, that was fun. It's kind of similar with Copa America. Some of those lesser teams like they there's a lot.
They were just insane people, just fighting,
a lot more
just punching
fighting
each other.
Yeah, a lot more fighting than football, which is kind of what makes Copa America quite funny. Also, a very good showing to as like a real kick up the arse that America are not ready for the World Cup because they couldn't handle it. That final was carnage, like fans breaking
Panama,
into the stadium.
Oh, you're talking just America in general. Yeah.
They are not
people
ready.
trying to get through in the vents, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was Colombian fans, wasn't it? Climbing through the vents, like absolutely crazy. So America's not ready for their World Cup, but they got a couple of years to figure that one out. But yeah, all in all, good summer. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't that much of a player break for me, but I went to Italy for a week, which is nice. But then I've worked ISF now, bar today. ISF quals for the last 14 days, including a few days of the women's because I think Brandon's been on holiday, so I was doing that with Lucy. But yeah, 14 days in total, and then up until like today, basically. And then, yeah, straight back to it tomorrow. I got Elisa coming up and then a few other bits and bobs. So, yeah, no, it's been busy.
You said March, right? So I guess
So.
if it's March, our last episode, one thing I should mention is that I did B-Stream Pro League with Brandon as well, which I was very, very proud to do that. Lucy was away in Australia for SL Challenger Melbourne, so I was called up to Pro League. Really, really enjoyed that. I think like even though some of the new production things can be a little bit janky and hard to deal with, I think we all did a really good job on B-Stream Pro League, I think. And yeah, talking about player break as well. Actually, me and Neo on a couple of days of Crossfire as well, which is a funny old game. Funny old Counter-Strike 1.6 game, and Paladin stood in for one day as well, which was an experience when he was called up last minute. It's a very weird game, like a browser, 5v5, 2-minute 30 rounds, no economy. It's basically Counter-Strike, just weird, basically, and old.
Yeah, and I guess you mentioned that. I also, me and Scripted Pro League, that was fun. Did a couple of weeks of that, and then 2 days of playoffs. First Pro League, because you did it before, Joe. You did it like one day in the past.
I did
right?
one day.
Yeah, so
and then they asked me. They asked me to do it again, even though I was only a stand-in. I was like, okay, free money then. Sure, fair enough. I'll have it.
But for me, that was the debut. That was sick. I enjoyed Pro League. Pro League's really good. 2 weeks of Pro League, and then 2 days of playoffs, I think it was in the end. I mean, I actually ended up getting some pretty good games as well. Yeah, pretty sick. I hope we get the chance to do Pro League again, because it's obviously a really cool event. Obviously, it's kind of, especially for us who do a lot of the ESL circuit, it's kind of the pinnacle bar, IEM, Cologne, Cato kind of thing. It's like, for me, I'd say like just underneath those kind of things. So
it's their flagship league, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So pretty sick. How about we get underway discussing things? And
yes,
I'm actually going to throw I'm going to change things up, right, in terms of the schedule that we were talking before. I say we start with transfers, right? So we've got our topics we mentioned is EWC, transfers, blast groups, and then rest of the year. Reason I say start with transfers is actually because then we're going to touch on a bunch of the transfers in EWC anyway. Yeah. And blast because of the roster lock anyway. So we may as well start there, and then when we get to EWC, we're not kind of like rehashing the same points. We can kind of just move past it. So let's do that. Let's start with the transfers. Where do we want to start? Do you want to start? I mean, I put the filter on top. I'll put it on top 10 to start and then see what the big ones are. So we've got, here we go. So we got top one they've got is, I think, probably the first and major talking point. I think it's probably the best one. Hooksy out, Snacks in. Who wants to start that kind of worms?
I think, obviously everyone's gone over this 10 million times for many, 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 many reasons. I mean, for example, Maui said that the Game Legion T sides were awful. How much did Snacks really have to say in that? If he did, then it's a terrible call. I think there's one reason and one reason alone. Actually, say one reason. There's like 2 or 3 reasons alone why G2 have made the decision. One, they wanted away from Hooksy. Once they won Dallas without him, they realized, I think that Hooksy even said in that couple of those Danish interview afterwards that he was probably out anyway, right? They wanted away from Hooksy. That was a long-term plan. 2, the fact that, Snacks coming in, I think it's a temporary thing. Like, Nico doesn't want to IGL. That's the second point. He's not ready to IGL yet, Nico. So if they chose Nico as an IGL, they could have gone for someone a lot more interesting, perhaps, to fill in an anchor role. As people have said, why not Perfecto, for example? But again, question mark over his English. I get it.
Yeah.
Then, point 3, as I said, I feel this is going to be a temporary thing. Snacks has they've just looked at him and said, okay, he's an IGL. He's led an international team recently. Wait till post Shanghai after the major at the end of the year, and then if we're not winning everything, which is probably a little bit unlikely anyway, then we can see who's actually on the market to move on from after that. I really think it has to be a short-term contract for Snacks. Otherwise, I think they're just absolutely insane for sure.
No, I'm with you. I think if it is short term, I think this move is actually pretty good, because in that sense, you don't have to really worry about any big system changes. He's still pretty loose as a caller. He's not going to really change anything up in that sense. You get to try out what I'm assuming is probably Taz's idea of what could work and see how that goes. And maybe while all this is happening, Mobs has a little bit more time to get integrated into Tier 1, and you give basically one of the last chances that Hunter can be asked for in his time in G2. So you're kind of like juggling a lot of different issues with this team, and you're going to have to try to selectively figure them out as this second half of the season goes on. And so I'm not looking at G2 as a team that's going to lift trophies. They might lift an occasional one here and there, but to me it's more like them trying to problem solve what's going on this team, pinpoint the issue, and then basically try to play the market post Shanghai. It's going to be a really weird time for G2 fans, and they're going to get a hell of a lot of flack for this. I think a lot of people are gonna dog on Mobs, they're gonna dog on Nico, and they're definitely gonna dog on Snacks and Taz. But I think if you're a G2 fan, you've got to ride this wave out. You've got to let them play the IGL market. There's a lot of players that are kind of in weird influx positions right now that could dramatically change once we move into 2025 because in all honesty, beyond the Shanghai Major and beyond Cologne, I feel as though most teams are kind of just like checked out of this year because they know how stacked 2025 is. They know what's coming down the pipeline in terms of the Valve rankings and all of that good stuff. So I think people are gearing up for that portion of the year. And if they can contend for Shanghai, it's a win for them. And I think they will, just considering the personnel that they have in Nico, Monacy, and Mal. Like, that's still very exciting.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of teams. It feels like a bit of a waiting game. 2025, Star Ladder, PGL, ESL, Blast, two majors on top of that. One of which being Blast, the other one not too sure yet. And then the fact that there's probably going to be a fairly strong variety of tier 1.5 tournaments, whether it's kind of things like Yala and Mesa and CCT Global Final, these kind of things, right? There's going to be so many. I mean, Elisa might even be there. Rez might be there. Even going down in towards the tier 2, there's going to be a lot of lands, a lot of things going on, a lot of overlaps as well. So teams know they're going to be spoiled for choice about where they want to play, who they want to play, and how they kind of want to play. So I think you're right. I feel like a lot of teams are kind of just saying, okay, you know what? Yes, there's a major coming up, and there's a couple of big events, but we'll just see what happens and take it maybe a little bit more loose. Just touching on Snacks though, I'm not a fan of this personally. I just think I know obviously Nico doesn't want to, but I would much preferred him to have taken the IGL mantle, especially off the back of Dallas. It's just proof in the pudding that he can do it, and even if it's a little bit more simple, that team played good Counter-Strike. Obviously, a lot of it comes off the back of Manesi being incredible, but I just don't think Snacks for me brings anything. And I think there's the other side of things as well, that I think if things go wrong here, it's not only Snacks who, in my opinion, then goes on the chopping block. It's also Taz as well, because this is Taz bringing in, it's Taz bringing in his mate. What has he actually done for this team? So far, nothing. Stewie's made it very clear that he doesn't, it's not a lot. I mean, Stewie was very open in his interview saying, yeah, like, we don't choose kind of not to listen to him and that kind of thing, right? So, I mean, it was kind of like, he was pretty clear that in terms of the ideas he brings to the team, it's not his. So if he's not there, if he's just there as a kind of a vibes guy, then, I mean, for the most part, I think G2, they need more than that. So I definitely think if this Taz thing fails, if this Snacks thing fails, Taz has to go as well.
The other thing that I had to remind you guys of is that semifinal veto that was put all on Taz as well. I mean, we talk about the lack of ideas, but even the ideas that he did bring to the table sincerely cost them a major, pretty much. I mean, they could have beaten Navi, if I'd like to think, if it wasn't Ancient. If they went to Inferno, I genuinely think they would have won that game, hands down. And then you look towards the final, who knows? I mean, FaZe looked mortal at the end of that all. So I think that in a lot of ways, you're costing Nico more time, and that's just tragic in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, we know that G2 have the ability to coax over a good coach and get somebody in who can actually help this team, and there is people that can actually help this team. So yeah, for me, this is a real, it's a kind of a two birds one stone kind of vibe, that if things don't go well, but if things do go well, which at least if I had to make a prediction just for how normally this works, that at least the early period, like the first few months, might actually be quite decent for G2, because they're new, right? We don't know what style they're gonna be playing. It can be a little bit harder to read an anti-strat and all the rest. So teams aren't going to be ready for them. And in terms of raw firepower, they can actually just brute force their way through best of threes. But in the long term, I really just don't see this team actually competing. Not with Snacks. Maui did a pretty good thing breaking down like all of his stats and what was going on as well, and it's not good. I think it was Nero or Scoobster, one of the two as well, did a pretty good like stat sheet. I think it might be Scoobster off the top of my head, a pretty good stat sheet talking about basically like kills per round and stuff like that, and Snacks has lower kills per round than Hooksy. So it's not good.
Oh, that's a Vu. That was a Vu.
Oh, was that Vu? Yeah, so it's not good, right? Like, you know, the stats don't paint a pretty picture. They, you know, one of the biggest complaints for a long time about Hooksy was about his numbers. And if Snacks is going to come in and not actually improve it, it still, for me, feels like this is, I forget somebody used a really good term, but basically, it's not an improvement of an addition. He just comes in at the same level.
Grade.
Yeah, it's a exactly. Yeah, it's a lateral movement basically, but it's a lateral movement with somebody who's older. I mean, Snacks. When was the last time Snacks did anything? Like no offense today. Obviously, he's a legend, and I respect what he's done for the game. But what, 6 years ago, I was on a look. It was like with the last time
he won with Miles as the stand-in, right, at a big IM.
Yeah. But it's just like, you know, he just hasn't done anything.
And it's
for
the roles
such
too,
a long
right?
time. Yeah, and also
the roles are messed up.
Let's touch on
on
it.
G2
The big one is you have paid a fair decent amount to bring in one of the most exciting riflers that we've seen. Pro League, those 2 series against G2, single-handedly put M80 on his back, and you've brought Malbs in, who's so exciting, can keep up with the likes of an Eco, for example, in terms of the rifling department, and you've absolutely fucked him in terms of his roles. He's gone from being very proactive on the CT side to now, in his own admission with that interview with Mike, saying he's playing anchor roles. So you are
some of them he
just
likes though. Some of them, I think, some of them
true.
he actually really does like. On
But
okay,
why
and they go
would
for
you
it.
not put him in the best roles? Is what I'm saying. The roles that, or like, you know, basically most of the, like, he shouldn't be getting fucked over in any way, right? It should be Hunter and it should be Snacks. Like,
I agree, Hunter should be playing bitch roles now.
Hunter 100%. Should absolutely be in anchor roles. This whole year has proven that. But if it's not, it has to be Snacks, right? And I just in certain maps as well, where it's like Malbs and Snacks clash, but then Snacks gets priority. It's like, why? Like, you don't have the numbers to back this. Like if you're a fragging IGL who's maybe, you know, like Shuhei, for example, I'd back him with a rifle. So maybe if he wants to take a roll off the likes of Assertion, fair enough, right? But it's just like, it just doesn't make sense to me here, where it's just like, I know for a fact in a couple of months' time they're going to realize, oh, fuck, we're actually getting overrun here. We actually should put Malbs in his right position. Just do it now.
Yeah, Malbs' like worst time as a player was when he was on Team 1 and he was forced to play anchor. He was like miserable. Like, this guy just didn't enjoy playing the game because he was better than he was better than every single one of his teammates, and they forced him into anchor roles because they wanted to like make do with like IDK or some shit like that. So obviously you probably have never heard of IDK if you're a viewer at home. So like, that should explain to you everything. If he's not necessarily a guy that's going to be like going out of his way to fight for a role, they should be giving it to him from the get-go. Yes. And if that's not the case, he is going to flounder. And I really don't hope for that, because I mean, I've seen this guy grow and learn as a player as to how to take resources and use them to his advantage. And he needs those resources. You need to give it to him. You need a flash for him. You need to give him some space. You need to play. You need to create strategies around this guy, not kind of lock him away on a site and just hope that he just gets the job done, which he won't. I'm telling you, he will not do it.
At least he's better than Nexa?
Yeah, no, he is.
I guess, yeah, but like, you want to get this guy off the leash. That is when he plays his best Counter-Strike. Period.
He should be loose, right? Like, I actually think Malbs is one of those players who benefits from like a little bit less structure than most players. Some people need micromanaging. I feel like Malbs is the opposite, where your best thing to do is just let him run free. Like, it's in a way similar to what people say with like, not in the same sense, but like people would say that with Boros, where it's like Boros go kill. For a lot of times for M80, it was kind of like Malbs go kill. We're like, we kind of need you here. So I don't know. I think it's going to happen inevitably. It's just the fact that it's not happening immediately. It's just like, why are you delaying the inevitable? Like, Snacks can't keep up numbers-wise with Malbs. He's playing roles he doesn't like, and he has in the past and not enjoyed. I know some of them he does, but he should be... He's a player of enough caliber that should be playing those roles as a given. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. And it's like also kind of prolonging the other conversation of like, for Hunter, like, how many more chances do you give this guy where he's just underperforming to the ability we know he can play, but is he just past it? Not that he's like particularly old, but he just like is in a bit of a rut. Maybe he needs to take a step back or something, because there's been a few flashes of it, a few series where Hunter goes back to being the Hunter we know, but there's nowhere near any sort of consistency. So the fact that Mal gets kind of snubbed in a little bit after having an electric start to the year is kind of annoying. But I guess on the other side, just continuing with G2, a decision that feels actually good for me is minus Nexa, but also minus Nexa to Bleed. I actually think that's a really good upgrade to Bleed. I
like it.
I caught Favin at Messer Nomadic, did quite a bit of them online. I just think he's okay. I still, for a long time, I haven't seen him as being a top player, but I actually think Nexa comes in and I think it actually improves that team. And I think, especially under Casada in particular, I think he actually could really flourish in those roles. I've been a hater of Nexa on G2 because he was woefully out of his depth there. But I think in Bleed, that's the kind of the perfect environment for him.
Yeah, the games I've watched of Bleed, Favin was doing, like, as you say, very, very average performances in terms of like his base level was okay. Like he was doing exactly what he needed to do. I think there was a number of occasions, for example, on Inferno, he plays Banana with Cypher, for example, and they bounce off of each other quite well in that position, or they did bounce off of each other quite well in that position. But he tailed off slightly. He had rounds where he was getting like super impactful frags sort of mid game, because look, if you've watched a Bleed game, you'll know it's sometimes absolutely chaotic in terms of how the result can be and how the game style and play style is, how the rounds go. And he was bailing them out on quite a few occasions when it comes to his pure impact kills in late round and maybe after plants and stuff like that. But yeah, overall he tailed off ever so slightly. I think Nexa is just a good baseline professional who will slot into a role, do his job at an easier level than the level he was playing on in G2. Yeah. He'll do fine. He'll go like 10 to 10 in a game where Bleed dominate. He'll just do his job, and the players that we want to see deliver, Jacob, Cypher, Nork, will.
I think before Jacob and Nog joined the team, Favin had a lot of extra resources. So like on T side, they'd play around him in the mid to late round where he's able to lurk a little bit more, and they'd give him a lot more space. But then when you add in Jacob and Nog, there was obviously going to be a little bit of a role clash. Favin now had to become a little bit more of an anchor. And unfortunately, that's when he looked the worst, at least on Bleed and when he was on Big as well. Like, the reason why he was so exciting on like Sprout before he joined Big and the beginning of Bleed was because he was just given a lot more space. And unfortunately, he's another one of those players where he can't be caged too much. Whereas Nexa can, like, he can play in those very like boxed in spots and get by with it. That like, even if like Nexa isn't the greatest anchor ever, it's like he is dedicated to that role, and you don't have to make him learn a new role, which is the best part. They've already figured out everything else in terms of the system. Hampus, Jacob Nock, like Cypher, they all understand what their job is on the team. So you kind of just have to plug and play Nexa, and things just work out. So I think, again, very shrewd move from Kassad, but it's the right one, and I really haven't seen a single misstep in him. When he's like actually navigated the free market, and as a tier 2 like GM, that shit is hard, man. That's hard to play the market that way, and so kudos to him sincerely.
Yeah, he's been absolutely killing it. I don't know if 100. Is he on loan to Bleed, or is he gone full time? Because
I think he's there. I think
he's signed.
Because I think he's signed. If he has, I wonder what money they paid for it. Because I'm sure he must have had a bit of time on his contract left. So. I mean, I know obviously Kassad mentioned it with Jacob and Nork. He mentioned it on, I can't remember, one of the podcasts he does. And he mentioned
how much they cost.
Yeah, I think it was like 65K, he said, which is like Jacob and Nork is just bonkers. Like, it's so cheap considering we've got like, Fallen getting side to Imperial for, it's a Fury, I say, for 600, 700K or whatever. So crazy to be able to get players like that level for that cheap. I'm assuming Nexa wouldn't have been any, like, it would have been a similar sort of vibe as well. He wouldn't have spent insane money on them because I don't think he can, basically. So yeah, I mean, Kassad just keeps killing it with the business. I think this is a really good signing. I think Bleed actually are a scary team. They are a team who I would hope should get invited directly to the closed quals. I'm not too sure.
I think they're on track for it right now,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
It's pretty close, but I think you are right. I think they're definitely a side who should be there. If they are at the closed quals, I think they're a side who can make it through the closed quals as well. That's just actually how
they're
good.
31 right now.
And it's top, make closed quals?
I'm not sure.
I don't know this new system. I can't even lie.
I'll get you that.
I haven't checked it for a while. Yeah. Other than the update the other day, I didn't really check who actually goes straight through, as you say.
Yeah, but either way, very, very solid. I guess while you're checking that, we can move on to another
32.
top 32. So, fucking hell, yeah,
it would just
squeaking in.
Yeah.
Let's just hope they keep winning then for a couple more months, and they should be fine. But yeah, it's pretty easy. We can move on to another one, another big sort of transfer conversation, and all around one team, Liquid minus Skulls, as he has gone to Furia, plus JKS, banger, plus Ultimate, obviously minus KD minus Zeus as well, and Mytha obviously coming in as a coach. Trav, kick start on that one.
Mate, I like the worst part about this is the Ultimate pickup is genuinely 10 times more left field than Rainwaker and Patsy.
Yes, yeah.
Like Patsy was a great pick. I felt like a great pickup at the time. Rainwaker, there was arguments to say that he's so consistent in tier 2 that maybe he can make the step up. Mm-hmm. Ultimate has been playing mostly tier 3 and sort of, if I really want to push it, tier 2.5, some maybe 1 or 2 tier 2 events. Like. Yeah. I've casted him quite a lot on Illuminar. I've seen him, I think, 3 years ago, and I've seen him this year. I looked at a clip. I had a highlight clip saved of some of my casts, as I do. Ultimate had a highlight. Yeah. And his play in that highlight 3 years ago looked ever so similar from CSGO to CS2 as that sort of, 6-month-old play did. And Ultimate is just... I mentioned it on Twitter when it was rumored before it was absolutely confirmed, that this move just has no X factor whatsoever. No. And obviously, like, Furlan and maybe some of his Polish teammates from Illuminar were like, he's got the X factor, don't you worry. I'm like, listen, I respect the hustle, lads. I really do. Like, you love your boy.
Yeah.
You love your boy, and he's got a wonderful opportunity here. But he's going to have to prove a lot of people wrong that he's just not another weird pickup from Liquid.
I really don't get this org, man. I don't get them at all. It's like I've been a huge supporter of them, but I don't necessarily even feel like they have the pedigree of being Liquid anymore. They're kind of like falling out of relevancy for me. Look, I think this is purely to save money and to try and see if you can hold on to the core that you have of Twist, Naf, and Yekindar, I guess, if you want to consider that the core, which I think Yekindar has been a huge problem for this team. I think not only has he been just way out of his depth individually, I think he's been like a cesspool in terms of like keeping his spot on the team and getting people out of the team.
Yeah.
That's my main issue. Like, how many times are you going to go through these different rosters and not point the finger at him? It's not even like he's got bitch roles. He's got good roles on this team. He's just not very consistent in terms of the actual impact that he has. I know Maui was mentioning that he has more upside than Skulls, and like, yeah, I get that, but like at the end of the day, you were bought out for like 500K or something like that from VP.
Yeah. And some of his own money or whatever.
Yeah, come on, man. Like, that's a lot of money, and if you're not actually getting away with any of that and like getting the fullest use out of that, then there is an issue there. So you're doing all of this like mental gymnastics to keep Twist and Naf, but like now Twist has to call, and I don't think this guy should be calling. I think he's a very intelligent player, but to me it screams more of like the intelligence that like Stewie has, where it's like they both understand like, okay, I know I've got to make a play here. I know the feeling of this point of the game, and I'm going to go out and make a play. And they see the game in that way beautifully, and that's where you see these crazy multi-kills and these beautiful highlights from them. But when you actually have to carry around 5 different players and do it that way, you saw how Stewie was with EG. It didn't work. It looked completely flat. It looked completely out of its own depth. And I think that's what's going to happen with Twist. You're going to have a couple of good rounds here and there where they muscle themselves out of a situation because a player commits to a sick play or whatever, but they're never going to cohesively look good on the T side. On the CT side, you're going to have to look towards Ultimate. Seriously? This guy hasn't played anything beyond a CCT at all. Like, that's all he's done. I've looked at the last like 12 tournaments. They're all CCTs, man. Like you can't reasonably look at a guy that hasn't played a single LAN and say, "Yeah, dude, we're gonna bring him onto a tier 1 organization and make him play regularly." I don't know. I'm not like I like the JKS pickup, I will say, but like for the most part, it's just very head scratching, and I don't know if I can really be excited about
It's
this.
hit and miss, isn't it?
Yeah.
Liquid are just they've hit with JKS, but they've missed with Ultimate. I mean, he hasn't even played a bloody game yet, poor guy. But like, it's just like what
It's nothing against him, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he should be saying yes to this every day of the week. My thing is that like, why is Liquid asking him in the first place? That's
who the
real issue.
fuck is scouting for Liquid? Like, I think, like, no offense to the Ultimate guy, I've actually cast them a couple of times, and I went back and watched a few games. And so, first of all, one of the things I know is when he plays against competent teams, like actual teams, like who are in the tier 2, tier 1.5, whatever, he doesn't do that well because he can't play this like cocky style of AWPing. And he actually puts up some pretty bad numbers in like the majority of the games. And he gets a lot of good stats against really bad teams or really bad AWPers on either side. So I think, like, you know, I kind of have people say to me, like, oh, yeah, but he's got like a 1.21 rating last 3 months. Yeah, but it's like, I guess, like, who? Like, part-time, like, people who work in Tesco. Like, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, that, like, you know, Barry, who is like a semi-pro CS player and then also like a postman, he dropped like a 1.4 on. Like, does it actually matter? Like, this is a guy who hasn't got no LAN experience going to LAN now. And like, first of all, like just playing on LAN is going to be so weird. It like, yeah, I mean, EWC is going to be so like over the top, or, you know, or like playing at like an IEM is going to be so like mind boggling for this guy, right? Going and playing in front of like, you know, if he plays any sort of arena thing, it's going to be like, you know, thousands of people. It's so loud. There's so much shit going on, right? You know what I mean? Like this guy's going to be so overwhelmed. Yeah, I don't know. It's a massive gamble. I'm not going to say whether I think he's going to succeed or fail because I actually it's so random. I actually don't know. Cast him like once or twice. Both times, the way I always put it is he wasn't memorable, right? And players that I've had in the past that I've casted that have been memorable, most of which have gone on to do pretty decent things. You know, a lot of players that we've covered in the real past, you know, we're talking about like Nerds and Flames and, you know, players of that sort of caliber who've come up through the tier 2 and we've been like, fucking hell, these guys are so good in tier 2. They might actually make it, and then they eventually end up making it. Or like any of the Mouse and XT guys when I was doing the Academy League. Yeah, exactly. So it's just one of those things. I watched him a couple of times, and both times I was like, all right, I don't remember anything like that. I won't remember this guy. I remember I'll never forget, it was called Giraffe Masters League. I casted Wonderful at 15 or 16 when he played on a team called Trasco. And they beat
I remember Trasco.
Copenhagen Flames on Ancient, when Ancient had only been in the map pool for a month at this point. Copenhagen Flames in the last 30 days had played it 29 times and they had like a 92% win rate. They were like absolutely like the best team in the world. And then Wonderful dropped 29 kills in CT in the half. And I was like, this kid's making it. I don't care. Like he's either cheating or he's making it. There's no two ways about it. And he did. So it's just like one of those where it's like, sometimes, you know, I watched him, I didn't see anything. So I'm not sold on it. I think JKS is a great signing. He, you know, I'm
happy for him.
Easily G2's worst decision ever. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, that team crumbled the second they lost JKS, and it is akin to one substitution. You know, no offense to Nexa, but like, you know, I don't think Nexa's really done anything wrong in that situation, but you just cannot compare him to JKS. They're like, JKS is just in every single way better, right? There's no two ways about it. Maybe bar his personality, which seems to be the one thing that people come back to. You know, he's a little bit quiet and he's a bit of a silent tilter or whatever. But it's just one of those where for Liquid, what are they trying to achieve here with these like, they can't legitimately like look us in the eyes and be like, yeah, I reckon Ultimate's going to win us a major. Like, there's just no way. Like, this has to be on a trial. It's a cheap, temporary solution where they're thinking maybe it's like a it's like, you know, a 2-year contract with a 6-month break clause, which is like, or like a 3-month break clause. They're pretty common, right? And they're just thinking, we're going to give it a go. Same with Rainwake. It was the same thing. He was on like a 3-month break clause, and it obviously didn't work, and they just got rid of him. I think this is the same thing here, because there is no legitimate way that they are going to take this guy who's got no LAN experience and say like, yeah, this guy's going to make us a top 5 team again. You know, we're going to be competing for titles. No, you're not. And also, you're doing it now without an IGL. good luck. And the coach as well. Don't even get me started. No, again, no offense to Mither. What has he actually done? Right, like legitimately, what has he actually done? Like every team he's joined, last 2 teams he's joined have both failed. Like one of which the org shut down.
You're muted, Annie. You're
Yeah,
muted, by the way.
You're muted for us.
You're muted for us. I cannot hear you.
I can see you, but I can't hear you. And
Yeah.
It's through Discord. We'll get back in a second. But
we'll get him back.
Yeah, it's like what legitimately like where is what does it come from? I can see. Let me see if I can grab your audio maybe from
Discord is dead. Oh no.
Are we working? I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. All right. It just died for some reason. Okay.
Oh, I think
it's gone again.
There you go.
What?
No, we're back.
We're back.
Hello?
There we go. No, we're good.
Apex disbanded, man.
The org was like, fuck it, I actually don't want to touch CS. This went so bad. Like how has that decision come through? Where it's like, right, he's just like coached the team into the ground. Now's the time to pick this guy up. And then like
also like the Mouse roster that he had was like terrible. Like it was a Dexter led roster that was so bad, and it was being carried by Frozen / Rops at certain points. Like oh my god, dude! Like how are you getting rid of Zeus, a 2-time major champion, a guy that has brought up so many different Brazilian teams? Like he coached that shit Fluxo roster to a major, dude. Like I can't stress that enough. That garbage, and you got that team to a major. He of course just dealing with the personalities of winning players like Coldzera, like Fallen, who have big egos and trying to handle that. I don't really understand how you're not like trying to keep this guy, or at least trying to find somebody at that kind of pedigree. Mither, are you kidding me, man?
I don't understand. To my thinking is, like, I've never seen people say he's a lovely guy and he works hard, right? Which is, you know, more or less most coaches these days. But I really don't understand. So like for my thought process here is for Liquid, Zeus was brought in specifically for Skulls, and the second that, you know, Skulls didn't work out, they're like, well, we don't need Zeus anymore, which just feels weird to me generally. Like, why are you not keeping somebody who can, you know, do all that? I just don't understand what Mither actually brings to this team, unless he's basically the whole system's gonna be Mither's. But then it's like, why? Because like Apex didn't play a nice brand of Counter-Strike, basically, bar post Paris Major. Paris Major, I give them credit for. They played well, but a lot of that came down to their stars playing very well, right?
And they had Kixan, dude.
Exactly. Like, and Kixan, who is, I will down the hill, is a sick IGL. Like, this guy has done so much. And even in Heroic, I think he's still doing a lot, right? But where I don't understand where the decision goes to be like, this is the guy who's going to save us. Like, we've just got rid of our IGL, so we actually need somebody who's going to be the real, you know, bring tactical depth to this team, somebody who can help this team win. And then the thought process is Mither. Like, how have they got 2 and 2 together there? I don't understand, because the system's going to have to be his. They can't rely on twists, right? Somebody who's not been an IGL before to try and build a calling system, unless it's just, you know, we're going to plug this and hope something works. It's I don't know, it's baffling to me. But that one is another, you know, obviously, I'm assuming free agent or dirt cheap. Judging by how Jacob and Nork were dirt cheap for Bleed to pick up. So Mither must have been dirt cheap. This feels like another move for me with a Liquid. They've got a guy who probably contractually isn't that expensive in comparison to Zeus, I would say. Had little to no buyout potentially. And they're just thinking, right, this will do for now until maybe something better finally comes on the market. But that's now massively gone from Liquid being like such a premium org in my books to just like looking to survive. And it's like, you are just a North American big clan. Like, what are you doing? Like, you are like a North American NIP. Like, what are you actually doing? You are the new EG at this rate with these signings. Like, what are you doing?
I will say, like, on the premium org and prestige org standpoint, at least JKS, like, obviously he's waited a very long time to make the decision on where to go. At least in my eyes, and he's chosen well in terms of the bag he'll probably get to Liquid. It's not going to be amazing. Like, you know, we're not talking top paid player in the world in like a Falcons team or whatever, but it's a prestige org with a still good name value, and I feel like he's waited and chosen well. It's the org I wanted him to go to. for ages. Obviously, after we saw the struggles that they were having with Skulls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I'll say about it. That's my last thought on it. That's the good thing with Liquid, but there's unfortunately right now many bad things.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand Liquid anymore. I don't think they want to win. It's like as simple as that. I just don't think it's become a priority for them anymore. I feel like these are not. I mean, JKS is, but I just don't think these are transfers you make to win. That's as simple as that. I don't think Mytha or Ultimate is. They can't legitimately look me in the eye and be like, these guys are going to win us a major, or these guys are going to win us an IM. Are they? Like, I mean, if they did, fair enough. Like, I'm happy to be proven wrong because Liquid's an org. It was like the first org I ever liked coming through, so I've always kind of rated them. But it's just like I don't know, man. I don't know. It's such an odd one to me where I just don't know. I don't know what they're trying to achieve here. I don't know if it's just surviving until 2025, which it feels like is the case for some orgs.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it could be, considering, I mean, how cheap I'm assuming both of these moves were, except
Yeah.
JKS. Like JKS is probably like one of those in the back there. They're thinking we're gonna keep this guy for as long as possible. But like maybe Glaive gets tired of Ents, and you want to pick him up then. Like I think I was theory crafting with Node, and he was saying like if they drop Yekindar and adding Glaive, this team is cooking again. And like you can remove Ultimate if you think he doesn't work and go about it that way. So there are still ways you can fix this roster with some of the decent moves you've made already.
Yeah, no, there is. They've got a decent core 3 there. We'll give them that. But then it's like afterwards, then we have to question maybe a little bit. But I guess we can move on and touch on the last just couple of ones. We'll touch on probably the one that feels like it might be more notable to the tier 1 level, which is Big Rigon. I actually like the signing. I think it's very solid. Back to his roots, Rigon. Came from the German scene. He had a really tough time at the end of Guild, but I don't think anybody had a good time at the end of Guild. But in terms of him versus Prosus, I think it's actually a direct upgrade. I just think, Prosus, he's not bad. I don't think he's a tier 1 player, though. I think he was just he was okay. He doesn't play great roles, but I think he was just okay. And I don't think, Big, they've just been okay for a while. But you've got JDC playing incredibly recently. I mean, he's looked genuinely stunning. You've got Crimbo, who is one of the best talents we've got in the scene, period. And he's actually been held back by how bad Big are. And I think Big are actually realizing that, if we actually don't do something, we're going to lose this guy because he's way too good for that team. He is just Crimbo is just too good for that team. It's simple as. And obviously Tabs getting on a bit now. So he's not that fragging firepower,
he can still hang for sure.
Yeah, but he doesn't. That's that's he just not at the top level anyway. He does maybe in some of the online tournaments, but he definitely falls off a little bit. But obviously they look to Crimbo a little bit more anyway. So I don't blame him for it. But yeah, it is one of those where I think they needed to make subs, and this one feels very good. So I'm a fan of this. I think it actually has some decent legs behind it. I think, hopefully, I'm expecting the side to potentially pick up a bit of form. I mean, it says, I don't know what that's saying, but also new coach as well, right? They got Kakafu, who's at OG for a little bit.
Been around. Kakafu's been around the big sort of OG, those two teams for ages. Yeah. He's been their assistant. He's been their actual coach for a while. He stood him for a while because the situation with Big's coach has been up and down, roundabout for 3 years. They've had God B for a long period of time. Yeah. They had Toe B when they were in the online era, I believe, when that was their best time with Xantares, of course. They've had multiple others that have sort of come and gone as well. And that roster's been just a weird one for a number of years, purely because of when Fathom was on it, he was in and out of the roster due to illness and all these sort of bits and pieces. Now I feel like they've finally settled. I like it. I just think Searson is not there yet into what he used to be. But obviously, yeah, I think Searson's got to go to make bigger contender again. But the question is, if you want to stay German, where on earth do you go, right?
Yeah, Slacks is the only one.
It's the only one.
And if M80 are getting gutted anyway, I think if I don't, they can't now, can they? Right, because roster lock for Blast has happened. But
they took Lake, didn't they? They're committed to this team.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, but that's the only upgrade I can think. I know people still don't. I think Slacks is better than Sis.
I like him.
I know a lot of people still think he's average, but I actually think he's got
an A farmer.
He is stable, is what it is. It's not anything flashy, but he will get you the numbers that you need, and then you can lean on your rifle core a lot more. And anyways, that's what Big is known for, right? Like you'd look towards a Crimbo and a JDC either way, and of course now if you add Regon, that's a decent like three core like team. So at that point, if you have Slacks on the op, then it's pretty chill. Like he doesn't really have to do much. So I think it could work in the grand scheme of things. I just wouldn't want him to leave M80, but that's just me. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Last one I guess we touched on just because it's kind of funny. Into Breach.
That like honestly, that is the most hilarious like composition to play. Like to be fair, they've actually built absolute pug stompers.
It's not a bad team.
It's not a bad team, but someone's just gonna say you're a twat or something and fuck you, and it's just gonna blow up within 3 weeks. That's just how it feels like with these sort of personalities.
100%,
but
like,
you know what? Smoothie is still actually good at the game.
He is.
Flatro is, obviously hugely talented as well. You've got Boris, him and Flatro should just hit heads every day of the week.
Yeah.
There's a world. I mean, Kios obviously struggled quite a lot toward the end of Gaming Legion. Don't get us wrong. Like, he was not performing to a good enough level as in the roles that he was in. And if he can just do average, like sort of the Nexa role, and just have an average performance every game, he shouldn't be the person that has to carry this team.
No.
So it doesn't matter. Like, they should purely off the back of firepower alone, they should be making it to finals of CCTs and beyond immediately, pretty much.
I'm gonna be honestly, unironically, silently a little bit excited for this team. Not in the sense that I think they're gonna win anything, because I don't. I mean, as they'll win online things, but I don't think they're gonna they're not making tier 1. I don't think they'll make a major. I don't think it's gonna be a repeat of ITB, but for better or for worse, this team is gonna be fucking funny to watch. They genuinely could be quite hilarious. Whether it's for better or for worse, Smooya, like you said, in my opinion, he's still an incredible AWPer. I mean, he still proves it. I watch this guy stream every now and again. He's crisp as hell. When Flatro and Boros, both of those guys should and could put up big numbers, so that even if Kios is still struggling a little bit, or Synopsy, let's be honest, we're not really looking to Synopsy in the fragging department. It should be interesting. If this team plays like Monty played at Blast Paris, right, where it's just uber loose, and it's just fuck it, we ball, we'll just see what happens. Boros, go and drop 1.3, please. That kind of vibe. I actually think they could actually be a little bit scary online. And I think these guys are kind of bred for the online stage to a degree. Boros and Smooya, this is going to be real home turf for them. I mean, the thing is, One Fletcher and Sopsy, just generally Guild / B&E, they actually always did struggle a little bit online for me. I've always felt they were actually considerably weaker online than they were on LAN. But they've got to grind now, these guys, I think is the big thing. They've got to play a lot of tournaments. They've got to try and build up a bit of a name value and get invites, and then potentially even, not by 2025, I don't think they'll be able to, but by the next major cycle, by Blast, then try and qualify for that. But yeah, there's no two ways about it. This team is quite funny. I think
it's quite fun.
I just want a comms video, really. That's all I want.
Yeah, please. But the thing is, ITB, I think, are actually approaching this quite well, because they've said we're not here for results. We're actually here just for KPIs, sponsors, and content. And I'm fuck it, that's all I actually want. Give me content of this team. Just go on boot camp, play an official, and put some cameras up. I just want to see what you guys are doing. I have to see it. I have to get comms video.
Because
when you win a game, or if they win a CCT, I need a comms video. 100%.
They will go batshit and they will break the mics, but it'll be very entertaining.
Because we've lost Monty now. We've lost Boro 2K and Krasnal shouting at each other. They've taken Hades and Diha for a Polish Monty core, right? Yeah. So, yeah, honestly, we've lost that entertainment. We need another toxic AWPer to... we need another toxic AWPer to start shouting at people, please.
Spice it up a little bit for us, fellas, please. But I think all in all, that's basically... Or you kind of mentioned Monty. We'll see what happens there. I like the Hades pick up. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think
do you want to just skip through a few? I like Hades on Monty. I actually quite like ZTR on Gamer Legion. I think it's a great choice, but basically the best choice they could possibly make to replace Snacks. And we're going to talk about Blast. Sorry, say that again.
What are Metasport doing, by the way? What
I
are they
know.
actually doing?
Throwing.
Yeah. What
really?
my only thought process is Metasport had a really good start to the year. And they're fuck, this is great. We are playing tier 1 teams, we're beating them, beat Falcons, this, that, and the other. And then they started losing because obviously at some point they were going to, and they just panicked. and I think they're just absolutely shitting it. They don't know what to do, and like they think that like getting rid of Susp, who was so solid, Susp, or getting rid of ZTR is going to help this team. No,
Now he's on wildcard, right?
So now he's a North American boy. Hell yeah!
And honestly, for wildcard, great signing. Slight was a bang average AWPer at best. No offense to him, right? He was
that is being very kind. That is being very kind.
He was one of the big reasons as to why that wildcard team didn't make the major. Like, it's just simple as that. Like, he just wasn't good enough. And obviously like Infinite kind of struggled a little bit as well. But it's such a big upgrade. Like, Fuzi is like nuts. Like, he is still. I casted him when he qualified for EWC with, I forgot they were called back then, but it was with Kiebi. I don't think they were called GG How. I think they were called something else. They were like a mixed team, but they beat
Invictus. Was it? No,
it wasn't IG Gaming. I actually want to you find out. It was we got EWC up here anyway. I can find out who it was. I think Mini was part of this team, so it was. I don't think it was called Invictus, but maybe it was. Oh no, yeah, they were just called GG How. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Anyway, I casted this. As you can see, Fuzi just absolutely fun. 1.44 rating, just like on fire. Like you had 44 and 29.
NIP kind of screwed him. Another one where like your time on NIP does not count.
Yes,
add it to the list. Add it to the list.
I think that's basically all of the ones that I can think of.
You know what? I think we'll wait for Cloud9 because we might talk about them when we talk about Blast quickly. I just want to give Annie a chance to talk about Nitro coming back again.
I think it was always going to be a risk to remove Walco, but like the biggest issue of that team isn't really the firepower. Like all of them are kind of doing their job when they're asked to, but like in the mid to late round, they just like look lost. They look like they've never played on a team before. They just like they kind of just run the clock down like 20 seconds and they just like funnel into a bomb site one after another, and it's never cohesive. I'm hoping Nitro fixes that. I think it's a risk to switch your captain, but I think it could work. I actually casted him yesterday, and he looked really mechanically sharp,
Nitro?
And that was my big
Oh shit! I didn't even see.
Yeah,
is that his debut?
Yeah. They played
Okay.
ECL to start things out. It was an easy game.
Win?
They played Limitless. Like,
it
was a very clean win. But mechanically, he did look very crisp, and that was my main issue. Is that like on Liquid when he was brought back the second time, his entries were terrible. He looked so confused. He just like didn't know where to like put his crosshair, and that was like really worrying to me. That made me think that like he's just not cut out for CS anymore and he should just retire. But this proved me wrong. Of course, it is against a lesser opponent, but like
it's good stuff.
Mechanically, if he can keep up, then I think it's some good signs, and hopefully he can like fix up their T sides.
Yeah, but basically for me, I was asked this recently. I think all I want from NRG with this Nitro pickup is to prove to me they still actually want to push and improve again, because these players have been around for so long and have had success at the top of the game. Do they have it in them? Do they have that dog in them? Is the exact phrase I used. Do they have that dog in them to push up and, push through North America again, qualify for LANs again? Maybe like a goal for them, for the players of this quality, would be to like win a challenger, for example. Go to a challenger LAN, qualify through an open and a closed qualifier. Go to a challenger, perform well, maybe even make a final and qualify for Pro League through making a final, for example, if the other team that's made the finals already there, for example. Something like that, and then I can say, okay, these guys still want it and they've still got a chance. But right now, I think they might just languish in ECL and qualifiers. I feel like still if they don't push any further.
When I've cast them, that's kind of what it's been. It's just been like they don't look like a team that have.
They look like an ECL team, dude. They look like an ECL team, and that's like. If you're an org like NRG and your expectations are to do what you did when you had your previous roster with Daps, that is never happening. Like you gotta like check that with the salaries and bring those down, because these players are going to rinse you. They're gonna rinse your pockets and they're gonna run away. That's all they're gonna do. So you gotta kick them up the butt a little bit. You've got to like not let Hex just like rot away, dude. Like this guy is like he's very raw, but like if there is somebody that actually like takes the time to like develop him, he can be very good. But there is a world where he just wastes all of his career playing off of EG, those shit EG teams, and then like these shit NRG or rosters too, and nobody ever does anything for him, and we lose another good talent. We don't have many of them, so we've got to like keep them while we can
So like
and get them back up.
Hexed, Rec, and JBA. That's it, right? Pretty much.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if these days. I mean, this might be a little bit of recency bias, but I don't see Hex on the same level as those two in terms of like potential. Like
he could be, and you haven't seen you haven't seen that in like forever. Like you see it like a map a month or like a map like every best of 3, like or every like 5 best of 3s. Like it's really hard to like get that out of him, and I really think it's just because he's been in terrible. He's picked the wrong team like every single time. Like it's unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think I've casted them like America's RMR, Thunderpick NA, something else NA as well. And I've done a few times. This is now on LAN and online as well. And just like every time I've been so disappointed. It's like I feel like if you got a demo up and like Neo, here is fluffy aimers, or like here is take flight. I'm like, sound, looks like it. You know what I mean? Like it's like like,
you don't have to do it like that, man. Take flight, bro.
Like no, it looks like it. No, I can see that by the gameplay. It's just like they just don't seem like a team. They don't like unironically do not seem like a team that can even like scrape the surface of qualifying 2 lands through NA qualifiers. Like at this rate, it will always be M80 or maybe even new wildcard or like elevate.
New wildcard or nouns. Nouns and wildcard are pretty stacked.
PA always seem to do it as well. You know what I mean? It's just these like small things where it's just like there is at the moment there's no way for me this NRG team keep up with. I mean, if we think of teams that are actually just in North America, because obviously Legacy are there as well, right? So I mean, like Legacy aren't a bad team on paper either, but like the teams that I look at that are like just head and shoulders above this NRG team. M80, Legacy, Nouns, Wildcard, PA, and then the rest of them. Elevate, I wouldn't say goodbye. Have beat
on a
them.
good day.
Yeah,
on a good day, Elevate could do it.
I cast them when they beat them in the Blast Quals for the League Race ones, and like Hex he got Mad Lippy, and then obviously I think it was Shane like kind of like one up to him. It was pretty funny. It was like beat them twice or whatever. So it's like at the moment NRG they're like. It feels like honestly NRG at the moment are closer to Mythic than they are to M80. So like they need to fix up.
So
something.
You mentioned PA, like NRG and PA actually had quite an entertaining back and forth. I think they played. There was a bit during sort of the qualification process for some tournaments where they had what was it like 4 best of 3s in 4 days against each other, and it was quite close back and forth.
Actually,
then Thunderpick and
I think I did the other two.
There you go.
For League of Ace. So
it was fun. It was fun. It was definitely fun, and they weren't too far off without a doubt. So there's a world. There is a world that can improve, but yeah, we need to see it at a big event. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Should we conclude transfers there and talk about
EWC?
Let's start with that one. The big one, the first tournament of the year. We got up on your screens here. Esports World Cup, $1 million prize pool. Nice and simple, 15 teams out in Riyadh, and it starts tomorrow as of the time of the stream, or today if you're watching this on YouTube, because this will be coming out. I mean, basically there would have already been games played, multiple games played by the time you've seen this on YouTube. But EWC starting. We've got basically all the big hitters, all the ones that you can imagine could want here. We've got Spirit Vitality, Mal's Phase, Na'Vi, G2, VP, Complexity, Mongols, Furia, Flycrest, MIBR, M80, Sashi, and GG How. 400k first place is not too bad. GG How slipping into the big
hitter. GG How.
Well, actually, the funniest one actually is not even GG How, because that's Mena, right? The funniest one is Sashi, like squeaking through the
that qual was unreal.
Bro, that qual is a fever dream, bro.
That qual was hilarious.
Cloud9 and Eternal Fire. Oh my God.
Cloud9 played with Alpha, don't forget. That was when they honestly,
I think 5 alphas might be a Sashi on a good day. So it's like it's like a crazy credit to Sashi. They actually went on like a hot streak of like qualifying to they qualified to Yala as well, I think.
They went on a tear.
They went on a tear. That month and a half that they had when all these qualifiers just happened to be, it was like just Sashi's absolute like peak. So credit to them. But honestly, this is it's a cool event to start the year with. Mega prize money, all the best teams, or most of the best teams. It's basically what we could ask for coming in towards this. And And also because it's straight off the back of the player break, it's always interesting one of basically like who has worked hard on the player break, who's brought something new, who's changed their map pool, who's this, that, and the other, who's taken too much of a break and comes back rusty. We always see one team that very obviously had a very nice holiday and have 14 hours lost 2 weeks, and it shows. So, I don't know. It should be cool, man.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I think we could go through the opening stages, and like I think these are pretty easy and to re-explain the format to everyone at home. I'm not a fan of it, but like it is interesting. It's
at least
different.
it's different.
Yeah, and that's the most important
Do it
part.
for the people.
Basically,
explain.
yeah, round one is an opening stage. It's all best of threes across the board. If you win it, you automatically go to the playoffs, which is very exciting. But if you lose, you go to a last chance stage, which I think you can bring that up too.
Yes. Yeah.
And basically, that is just a gauntlet of BO1s across the board, and only one team gets out alive, which is kind of insane. But that whole
wild,
best of
yeah.
one format, I think, is done in one day, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
So that will be a pretty insane day of games. But yeah, that one last team moves on to the playoffs, and then they play best of threes all the way throughout to that final, which will be on Sunday. So pretty crazy. But we can go through the opening stages and just talk about all of the best of threes, because I think for the most part they're all pretty straightforward, bar maybe a couple that I'd like to talk about. Like I'd say Mal's Vitality, Spirit, Phase,
G2
and
Mongols.
Na'Vi feel pretty comfortable, but like
Yeah.
G2 Mongols, VP Complexity, those two can kind of be up in the air. So I don't know. Where do your guys' heads lie on that? Unless you have upsets on the other ones as well.
We could start it like right from the top and just go game by game. So Miles, Sashi, I feel like that one's pretty simple to say. Sashi have dipped in form quite a bit, so let's just not beat on the bush here. We just both all three of us are gonna say right. Miles. Vitality M80. It's a bit interesting, but I'd be very surprised if Vitality hiccup there.
The reason that game's interesting to see how Lake plays when he was what was it? What was the joke someone made the other day? Yeah, no. Someone said like, oh, he was playing Mythic like 2 days ago, and now he's playing Zywoo, right? So it's like it's a bit of a culture shock perhaps for him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he sinks or swims.
Who's Mythic Sorber? Like Cooper or something.
Cooper,
Cooper and Flom does it sometimes as well, I think.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah. So yeah, a little bit of a change of scenery for Lake. We'll see how he copes to that one. Spirit MIBR. I know as much as MIBR have name value, I actually don't think this one's a conversation. Like I just think Spirit is so dominant. I think it'd be fine.
I think they could actually take a map, but that'll be like the surprise that they make it like a 3-mapper. But like that's about it.
It's a cool game though, because obviously remember when MIBR were sort of making their way through, MIBR and Spirit were making their way through toward the end of last year, right? And Bet Boom Dacha, they were going up against each other in the qualifiers and in the main event, and there was actually quite an interesting battle. There was a couple of times where MIBR pushed them quite close, actually. So yeah, but that's old Spirit. That's still like pre-winning everything Spirit. So yeah, this is now the real deal Spirit, and I think MIBR will absolutely not be able to do much here.
Yes, yeah, I agree. FaZe FlyQuest, unironically, I think there's actually a little bit of a conversation there. Just more on the fact that FaZe
might be rusty.
Yes, exactly. If any team was going to be a little rusty or just like not quite be playing to the level that we know they can play at, I would probably say FaZe are one of those teams. They just have those moments where, we always talk about this with FaZe, where they just don't play until it really matters. And that, this might be them where they, get upset in the best of 3 and then have to go through that gauntlet of the best of 1. So who knows, man? It's one of those where FlyQuest, they have the ability to, they've looked better with Dexter. It's as simple as that. I still think they've, got AWPing issues, but, what can you really do, right? I mean, there's no raw upgrade for Alistair. But Inns is very solid. Dex has been calling pretty well. Is a world FlyQuest could do something there, but I don't think it's too like I still think it's still primarily going to be a FaZe win there.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, it's a left field one, but my pick for a team to struggle in the second half of the year is actually FaZe. I think they've had their time at being that team that just made every single final of since CS2 was introduced in the big events. There's obvious pitfalls. Carrigan's numbers are they're definitely can be spoken about as in terms of a minus point for FaZe. the classic meme that Hooksy is flirting and Carrigan is harassment or whatever, whichever way around it is, right?
All the way around,
Whichever
but
way
yeah.
around. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, exactly. Carrigan flirting and Hooksy is harassment. It's actually such a bad meme, that one, but it's funny. But yeah, genuinely, Rops has also fallen off a little bit as well. His role seems like figured out by everyone. I mean, obviously it has been figured out by everyone. Everyone knows what he does, but seems like Rops used to be able to make it work anyway, and he's currently in a period where he's not making it work, even though we know what he can do in the past. So maybe we're a little bit fooled about how good he's been in the past, and this slight tiny dip is just what is sort of making us criticize him. It's not a huge dip, but it's a very obvious dip. And yeah, I mean, take up that mantle, don't get me wrong. I think there's a world in which this phase maybe make a few playoffs toward the end of the year, but I'm actually picking them not to win anything again for the rest of 2024, which is a bit of a shocking prediction perhaps, but that's what I'm going for. A gamble I'm going for.
Okay.
Yeah, so you look at the losses that they've had: Vitality 2-1, Navi 2-1, G2 2-0, Spirit 2-0, and Vitality 2-0. So like they're not able to crack the upper top 4 of the like rankings right now, and that's really worrying to me. And that's when you have to look towards those small tiny dips in form. Like that's all you can really say, because the top 5 is pretty stacked, all things considered. And Kerrigan's slight dip and Rops's, I think, is a little bit more significant than a tiny dip. I think that this guy, like, I think the numbers don't tell the full story, and he just looks very lost. He doesn't look as motivated because he's not kind of like, I think he's like, the team isn't succeeding as much. He's kind of gotten a little lax with how he's playing and how he's approaching the game. Yeah. I mean, genuinely, like, who knows? Like like, there might actually be a correlation there. Like, you never know. Like, sometimes things like that can happen. But either way, I think they need to kick up the butt. I think they need like a big early elimination before they really like kick it into gear. And maybe it might be Esports World Cup, like where they fail in this best of 3, and then a best of 1 can always go wrong in the last chance stage. They didn't do their prep properly, and they get eliminated before they make playoffs.
Yeah, it might just, I feel like sometimes they do just need a little bit of a kick up the arse, and this actually might be kind of that where it means they're better off for the rest of the events. But I don't know, it's a weird one. I could actually generally see a world in which they get upset in this situation. Na'Vi Furia. First look at Skulls on Furia, I think it's probably too early. As much as Na'Vi are beatable, and they definitely have their pitfalls, I would be surprised if they lose here. I think Furia have got too many issues and too much to figure out in too short a time. I think Na'Vi, they should be pretty fine there.
They don't lose these games.
Yeah, exactly.
At least
maybe Furia take a map in like the wildest of situations, just because like K-Serato goes like huge, but I'm not expecting that. I still think they have the depth in the team right now to be talking about taking series.
At least Skulls is speaking his mother tongue again, and maybe that helps his form in general. What was it? Were the main talking points of Furia, Annie? Was it that Cello was playing roles he was not comfortable with, and maybe does he go back into different roles now?
Yeah, he could be a little bit more aggressive at this point, which is really good to think about. I mean, you're basically trying to find a new art, right? And theoretically, Cello could fit those roles. And that's when he looked his best, when you think about his time on Imperial at that tail end and before on MIBR. Like, that's when he looked really good. So hopefully, if that happens, if Fallen is aware of this, then yeah, it could really work. They've also added a ton of personnel on the back end as well with Innershine and Lucid, I believe. So that could be really helpful for them to kind of lift the shoulders off of their head coach. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember his name, but
I'll look for you.
Yeah, hopefully,
City.
this team,
City.
City. Yeah, there you go. Hopefully that those kind of issues help fix them a little bit later down the road, but I don't think it's going to be here.
The main thing about the talking point about Furia, which we will be going on about forever, like we don't need to get into it now, but it's just like re-signing K-Serato and Yuri for 3 more years. It's like, where's the motivation?
Well, nobody learned from Abel J, man. Well, nobody learned from Abel J.
Like, poor old Abel J, my guy, poor lad. But like, Que Serato, he could go anywhere. It feels like it's like what?
Yeah.
There's probably no team in the world. Would FaZe finally convince him? I don't think even FaZe or someone else, or even like the best team in the world would convince him at this point. Like he wants to play with his, his compatriots. He wants to still play in an organization he's comfortable with, and he's got no motivation to try and win something outside of Furia. Sadly,
I think, however, though, let me just like throw this out here with him. First of all, you know, it's a comfortable life. He's probably getting an incredible wage, especially incredible wage for the country he lives in, right? You know, he's living the absolute
he's a one club
high.
man as well. Probably gets
Yeah,
paid a
yeah.
bit more for being a one club man.
Bit
as
of a
well.
legacy player, all that.
Yeah.
Speaks in his native tongue, doesn't have to speak in English. Also, probably saw who Liquid were picking up and like, fuck that. Are you kidding me? Who? Sorry, who am I all ping with? Nah, I'm right, mate. Cheers. Sorry, who's my coach? Nah, thanks, mate. I think I'll Sid from Toy Story. I reckon I'll stick with him, mate. It seems like a better one for me. Yeah, I don't know. I think I actually really don't blame Que Serato in this instance because I don't know who wants him outside of Liquid. Like the only rumor I've ever heard is Liquid want him, but like I don't know of any. I don't think G2 have ever, or not that I know of, or FaZe. So, he probably actually doesn't have good offers. Like as much as people keep saying like, yeah, but like, you know, he's not going to win this and the other. It's like, I unironically think he has a better chance of winning with Furia than he has with Liquid, like current Liquid. So, yes, if he joined, that changes the conversation. But then also, if he joins, are they not picking up JKS then? Then it's
yeah, it would have been a really weird role clash. And I
Yeah.
don't think that would have worked. But
so I honestly,
Yeah.
I really don't blame him for the decision. I know
it could be G2 as well instead of Mobs. That might have worked.
But have G2
but
ever shown him any interest though? I really
yeah,
don't.
I doubt that. I
That's what I
doubt
mean.
that.
So
yeah.
I also like probably the difference in buyouts between Que Serato and Malbs is probably pretty substantial. So yeah, that's the only counter argument I have to it. I think it's kind of hilarious. You know, he's had another opportunity to maybe go abroad, and he's kind of just like, fuck this. Like, you know, Brazil's kind of nice this time of year, so I'm good. Yeah, but it's just I just don't actually think he has good enough offers. Like the thing I keep seeing people just like blanket statements like, oh, he doesn't want to win anymore. But it's like, how is joining Liquid actually going to help him win? Like, I really don't think it does. Like, first of all, Furia, if they ever needed to, let's say next year, open quals, Furia and South American quals, are you kidding me? Like, who is going to contest against Furia? Like, realistically, like, bar
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think Current Imperial's competing. I don't think Current MIBR, they've like what, minus like Henny now this side. I don't think the Imperial at the moment, who are going through their changes, are going to compete with Furia at the moment.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't know. Red Kenneds have improved. 9Z are always there.
The only one I say is Pain.
9Z are 11th, right, in the world? Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like 9Z are a little bit fraudulent for my liking. I actually rate Red Cannons and Pain a little bit higher. I said a lot for Pain because they have like, it's basically just the biggest era show. But I honestly don't reckon like, I don't reckon Furia, like, as much as, yeah, it's you know, funny here, then whenever Furia have played local quals, they don't struggle. They don't struggle against local teams. Like, it's international teams where they've like really struggled against. Like, if he does go open circuit and Furia are forced to play South American quals, I really don't think that crop of players will struggle against I think they might lose a series here or there, but I don't think they're going to be like not qualifying. If there's like, you know, even if it is only one spot, I'd still be pretty surprised that they didn't qualify coming through from like a South American qual. I know there's better teams in NA, which is fair enough. That's the argument I can make, but it's just like, does he then want to be stuck in North America playing for a deadbeat team that's probably not going to win anything, and Fury have a better chance? That's just the blanket statement there for me, that like a lot of people say it's like, oh, you just want to win anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how I don't understand, like, those people never justify like how Liquid is actually going to help him win, because like I don't actually think they are. Like, I actually think he's got a better chance of Furia.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because Furia, even though they've barely won a thing, like they've won at least at Espo, they've won an online S2 event during the COVID era.
Yeah.
And they've won a couple of small things before. It's like, that's probably why we want him to move, because he's the one that's been playing so well and borderline carrying them so many times over the years. We want him to maybe go to a team that can utilize him more even.
Yeah.
But
I
as
just
you
think
say,
people
it's a
say that
comfortable
without
home.
realizing that are FaZe and G2 looking for him? I don't think they are. Not that I've heard of, at the very least.
No,
I feel like
no.
I'm relatively ear to the ground, and at least that one, unless that one's kind of completely, slipped my radar. From my understanding, G2 or FaZe or any of those top teams, I don't think any of them have actually been at a concrete interest in paying his buyout and said, mate, we really want you as part of this team, and we're going to drop this person for you. So it's like, people keep saying like, oh, he should be winning trophies, this and the other. But it's like, where is he actually going to go to win trophies that isn't Furia? Because it's not Liquid. Like, let's be honest, that team is not winning. Like, there's just no way. So I don't actually understand. Like, that's always the argument that I've never got when people like keep saying this on Twitter. Like, oh, like this is him. Like, especially when the announcement that he signed for 3 years. Like, I'm sure there was no better offers.
Would you say? I guess maybe there's definite role clash here. Then, if I'm going to go with what I'm going to say, but just bear with me. But just for argument's sake, say you drop your Kinder, you sign Serato, you don't get Ultimate, and you get a better AWPer that's on the market. Would you then say Liquid have a team that can win trophies?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to who do they sign as an AWPer? Because that seems to be their biggest issue right now. And then even then, I don't even know. Liquid keep making these changes like it's like something's gonna happen, and it doesn't. They arguably even get worse, right?
Yeah.
I just like I don't think it's inherently like Liquid is the issue here. I just think I can fully understand Serato, who's already getting paid like probably shit tons from Furia, who are like an incredibly wealthy organization. He's playing with his best friends in his native tongue, in his home country. He probably lives a very, very good life outside of Counter-Strike as well, with all his friends and family that he grew up with, this, that, and the other, all local to him. You know what I mean? Like, and I can fully understand why he hasn't left. I think like a lot of people like keep like, I see on Twitter, they just keep saying like, oh yeah, like I can't believe he's staying at Furia. Like he should be winning trophies. But it's like where, like no one actually says like where he's gonna win trophies, because Liquid are like there's no way somebody can look me in the eyes right now and say that Liquid are a better team than Furia. Like that I do not believe you. Like I can't down the hill. You say that plus Mytha plus Ultimate makes Liquid a better team than Furia? Like no chance. Like it just doesn't make not to me anyway. Like not currently, not with this current Yekindar, with this current structure, with a guy who doesn't IGL now IGLing. Like there's just no way that I can be convinced. So I fully understand Serato. I think he's made the right decision.
Okay, fair enough.
Unless if G2 were like, we'll get you a set of mobs, then we can talk. You know what I mean? But it didn't happen. So that's why I stand on this. I think he's made the right decision, and he's living a good life, man. So I can respect him.
There we go.
G2 Mongols.
If it's pre, for Mongols, if it's pre burnout Mongols, I think they beat G2 and they haven't figured out an official yet. Yeah. But if it's Yongshipping Mongols, I think G2 win.
Yeah, Yongshipping Mongols were rough. I think they've had enough time to rest. I think because they went 3 tournaments in a row without going home, I think that's probably killed them off a little bit. I actually want to lean Mongols here, but I just think just because of how it always is, that honeymoon phase for G2, it might just give them a win because Monassi will just drop like a 1.5 or something. So like I just think you'll out-AWP a 9-10 and then like kill everybody, like simple as. It'll just do one of them. Like it might be another one of those days where like Monassi just like has to hard carry them a little bit. So I would love to see the Mongols win. I'd like to see them do well at this tournament because the big thing is like, people kind of still think it's a bit of a fluke, the whole like Mesa into Yala thing, but it wasn't. They played good Counter-Strike. They deserved to win. And I want them to be a regular tier 1 team. So I'd like to see them get a win here and go to the playoffs and at least make some sort of playoff run.
Yeah, I'll take Mongols as well. I think they don't play gimmicky Counter-Strike, and I think that's something that most people understand. And their baseline is just really good. You don't need 9-10 to bang anybody out right now. I think you've got enough pieces on the other end. Like Mazzino has really surprised me. I think he's improved so much.
He actually looks good on LAN as well. Like that was his big thing.
Completely agree.
Like Kato and stuff on LAN, he was
he looked lost.
Shitting the bed. Like playing rotates on Mirage was like awful. He kept going through underpass and just like dying immediately. He actually looks fine now.
Yeah, yeah, and then Blitz can frag out, and Senzu has been the generational Mongolian talent for me. I think this guy's been absolutely incredible. So I
Oh,
think,
okay. You
You're
lost your
back.
mic
You're
for a hot
back.
second, for
okay,
like
yeah.
a second, but it's back.
But yeah, I think their baseline is just so comfortable that G2 will just not be able to keep up. So I'm gonna take Mongols there.
Okay, fair enough. Trav Mongols as well, or G2 here?
I quite like your point of honeymoon period G2.
Yeah,
I just
scary.
think I've actually picked Mongols as one of my teams that will continue to go on a slight upward trend and continue to make playoffs at these events. I think there's their base level is really good, but I am concerned with no official since Yongshiping how they're going to look. I mean, this is actually a really hard game to pick. Like, these last two actually in the we're going to
Yeah.
we've got VP and complexity too. These actually two for me are very hard to pick. Just because I said that Snacks of G2 wasn't that bad, I'm picking G2. But we all know that I love the Mongols.
Yeah.
So
Unironically, as much as I love the Mongols, I think I'm going to pick G2 here for one reason: is I watched these guys play against Cat Evil the other day, and Lord have mercy,
yes,
that was a tough one in the
yeah,
eyes.
no land since the player break. All this online stuff they've been struggling, looking a bit rough.
Yeah,
So.
I know it's online Counter-Strike, and potentially as well, this could be the Mongols saving strats for EWC, maybe, right? Like, I actually normally don't like that argument, but like they were like all over the place against in that blast call. Lost to Rare Atom badly, I think 13-6, and lost to Cat Evil as well. It was tough, right?
Cat Evil have Lan and someone else,
yeah,
right?
they have Lan, Ronin Baby.
That's
They
Ronin.
have,
That's the one. Yeah.
they have one other guy. I can't remember his name. They were guys that I've casted like a bunch of times in ECL. They were always just like
Wings
a
up
what?
stuff.
Yeah, they were like a
Yeah.
whatever team, right? They were like maybe make playoffs and then get like banged out first round by like a Limb Vision, and then that was it, kind of thing. But yeah, so for that reason, I'm tempted to lean G2 just because of that, because it was tough. Even though I've got the Mongols jersey right here, it's just like, I mean, I've got G2 actually right there as well, in all fairness. But yeah, it was just tough to watch, and maybe that might creep in towards EWC where their confidence is a little low or whatnot.
We'll see.
Last one, VP complexity. I'm actually, as much as I like to hate on them, I actually like complexity on Spring. I think they played good Counter-Strike. They finally won a trophy as well, so I can actually give them a bit of respect. And for part of me wants to say that they could be a side who are maybe a little bit of a sleeper here at EWC. I think I might want to give them my potential. I think they can win this one. Oh, Annie,
We'll get you, Annie.
We lost you.
We'll get you.
Oh, hold on, I was actually muted there. That was my fault. But I want to take no, sorry, not complexity. Virtus Pro here. I think they've got a lot of look I don't like agreeing with Neo. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But I think the biggest thing for me is that VP have had so much time to like prepare this team that is supposedly supposed to win everything. They lose spring finals, and honestly it was pretty bad, like the fashion in which they were eliminated. Like it looked so discombobulated, and Dallas looked even worse. So I think this team just really needed a lot of time to figure out how they wanted to play with electronic. I still think there's going to be some teething issues for them, but for the most part, I think Dust 2 can be very reliable for them, as it has been when he was first into the pool. But yeah, I think even though complexity's level has, like, their floor has come up a lot recently, I still think that I really do like Virtus Pro long term, and I'm gonna just take the rogue pick here because I agree with you, Neil. I think complexity should be winning this, but I'm just gonna go off of like VP of hard prepared for this game, knowing that like we want to come back into the out of the gate swinging and try to have a deep placement after the kind of embarrassing season they had with electronic.
So I actually think long term, this VP genuinely won't do much at all. I think they suck in general. I think they haven't figured out a style yet. There's some of the things I see from this VP.
Right?
Yeah, like the Jame identity from before is kind of like dissipated. I haven't seen anything exciting or new or like just anything that reminds me of a VP that is just very, very hard to beat like they used to be, as of late at least. I mean, there's a couple of things, a couple of flashes, sure. And of course, I love Electronic on this team. It makes so much sense, but it just hasn't felt like it's really worked as well. Like, it's one of those roster moves that you really think will be fantastic, and it just hasn't really pushed them to that next level like you hope it would.
Yeah.
Electronic is, in general, kind of, he has his flashes, he has his moments himself personally, individually, but again, it's not really what it once was when he was, maybe hard carrying toward the beginning of Cloud9 and back in the Navi days. It's just not the same. Electronic, of course, he's got different priorities. Maybe has a lot of other priorities as well with his personal life and having a child and stuff like that too, right? It can tail off your individual level. It's as simple as that. Despite me saying this about VP, thinking they're going to struggle over the rest of the year, just purely because lots of people will be taking complexity after winning a trophy, I think VP is actually maybe a smarter choice here. I think complexity will actually make it through the last chance stage in the BO1s, even though that's such a dangerous gauntlet. They still might do well in the entire tournament overall, but just in this best of 3, I'll take VP.
Cool thing about this tournament, just in general, as we wrap it up, because it is just the best of 1 that goes straight to the playoffs, teams are going to maybe even overly kind of prep for their first opponents, which I think is actually going to be sick. I just think it should bring a lot of counter-stratting and sort of this, that, and the other. So definitely something to kind of talk about in that sense, and should be a sick one. We can briefly move on. It's actually going to be for a while. We kind of touched on all the teams, but we can briefly, just to close things up, talk about 4 groups and see how we're feeling with that one, since we probably won't do an episode before then. But you know what all it is. 4 groups coming through. Simple stuff. They're looking for final spots. Obviously, the bottom 8 go to showdown? No. Yeah. Top 6 go onwards, and then the rest get the showdown. So yeah, should be pretty cool. Obviously, similar thing. Most of the big teams there, all kind of the partner teams, are there. Some of the which that aren't at EWC, like the Heroics, Falcons and IP, etc., etc. And obviously C9 as well. And I guess we can talk about C9 as like the main point here. How are we feeling new C9 with, of course, now coming through in with Heavy God, Icy, and Inters?
I just don't know how this team like kills anyone. To be honest with you, I'm not very excited about this team. To be honest, I like the addition of Inters, but like the thing is like the reason why I think he worked so well in the previous Cloud9 roster was because he had one of the best oppers in Shiro, and I think their synergy was very, very good, where Inters would find as much information as possible, and Shiro would capitalize upon that, because I think his IQ in game is so high that he's able to synthesize that information. Icy is not that type of player. Icy is not the type of person that, at least from what I've seen on his time in OnCall, he's very like caveman. I see player, I shoot player, and that is all it is, which is totally fine. That kind of style works. But what the reason why I'm saying this is that worries me for Inters' level, because that's going to get dogged on, and then Icy's level as well is also going to be at a lower level. He doesn't have as many resources to help him out. Again, the elephant in the room here is Axel hasn't done much recently. Like, he's been in a really bad rut, and he's got to get out of that. And if he doesn't, then this team is DOA, like 100%.
He just randomly performed at the major, right? Like, it was just a wild recovery out of nowhere.
So, to me, this team lives and dies off of how Axel performs and how Heavy God performs. And if those 2 players do not do anything, then this team will not do anything, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't hate it, because I just think Cloud9 needed players, and I think these players work. You know, obviously for Heavy God, thank God he's escaped OG, because, you know, we know how that can just kind of absolutely int you.
That's for sure.
Icy, I think I think he's better than the rest of Amcal, so I think, you know, he's proven, at least for me, that he can play at a tier 1 level. It's just to what level at tier 1. And yeah, you know, redemption arc for Inters, which feels quite justified. I remember saying it way back when, that Inters wasn't the problem.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I feel happy now to say that it's come full circle, and even Cloud9 have realized that Inters wasn't the problem. And it was Nafany in the end. So yeah, it's one of those where it's I don't hate the team. Do I think they're gonna win? No. Do I think they're gonna be competitive? Maybe every now and again, but consistently probably not as well. Do I think they get a full final spot from here? No. I think they're a team who are destined for the showdown. Is the way I'll put it. And then maybe they can make it through the showdown because a couple of those tier 2 teams come through. There's a world that they can make it through the showdown. But do I think this is a team that can make consistent deep runs? Not a chance, right? And that's the thing for me. Where, you know, fair enough, they've got a team together. I need to see a lot for them to prove that they can do something here. But it should be interesting, right? Because there's a couple of teams who are also in similar positions. You've got, obviously, Big Rigon coming in. Game Legion ZTR coming in. OG, you've got Thomas standing in, the GOAT.
Mate, OG literally own the word mid. Like, how they literally the middest of mid organization. And does it? Yeah. I know they're caught here with having to pick someone to play, and I understand that situation. But overall, the roster in their entire tenure, at least the last year, like Keto IGLing has not been special, but for maybe one tournament, one outlier.
One best of 3, man.
One best of 3.
I can't even
like Nexius is just not it. You know, so many factors of this team. Even Modo
re-signing on this team,
Fiku re-signing. Even Modo looked better on bloody TSM, and that was the TSM that looks like an absolute bloody nightmare. Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ.
This team don't want to win, though. That's the thing. The funniest thing about OG, and this is actually just the conversation generally for the scene, is that, you know, going on like next year and stuff, like teams like OG, I don't think we're going to see them really a lot. Like, they're not going to qualify. I mean, like, are OG actually even in Valve's top 32 right now? Like, they
don't think so.
I know HCV ranking, they're not. They're 50th ranked in the world currently, which is like crazy.
They have done fuck all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it is, it's a wild. I mean, they're only in this tournament.
Okay. So they are 31 technically.
I thought Bleed were 31.
Bleed is 21. Bleed is 21. I had sorted by global. So
easy.
Bleed are 21.
Bleed our goats. Let's go.
So OG are 31. The only reason that they will make the closed quals at this rate is because they're a partner team. That's it. Because, like, how much do you even get for last place here? You get $5,000. Like that. Who's 32nd, 33rd? That you can see.
Well, Imperial Female and Czech Republic. So I don't think these are. Yeah, I don't think these are real teams. So the next real team would be 9 Pandas.
Okay. So OG are probably gonna make it, like, which is crazy. But then I don't think they make it out of close calls anyway. Like this, they're just not a competitive team. Like, kind of crazy. Wait, so Imperial Female might be the 32nd team. That's actually
they actually are. I saw that when the rankings got changed. Yeah, they're genuinely.
Honestly, that's kind of sick. Like,
that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Wait, so then by that metric, surely. Yes. Imperial. Sorry, I completely forgot that the Imperial Female are.
That is Enigma Galaxy.
Yeah, I completely forgot. Literally from the most recent. Thing. I was like thinking, Imperial making it. We're Enigma Galaxy. Okay, so that'll be a real good litmus test to see where they could do. I know they've recently just become the highest ever achieving female team. I think it was in ESEA. I think they went to main playoffs. I think it was something like that. But that'd be sick if they actually get a chance to make it. Of course, with them, they're probably always gonna. There's another impact, I think, just before the cutoff. So. Oh no, cutoff's actually really early.
Cutoff is in August. Yeah, it's almost done. So
shit, dude, EWC is so important, and then obviously Blast. I guess. I mean, the money's not even that great here, so it probably actually won't make a huge difference. So it's basically
Blast is the last event, so it's pretty much this.
EWC is that is the make or break. Fuck, that is crazy. So this could. Well, I mean, these guys will all make it. It's just more a case of. I mean, Sashi might even be relatively close. You know, I don't know where.
Sashi are through. Sashi are 24. So.
Ooh. Oh shit! That is actually kind of wild. All right, fair enough. But this new RMR circuit is a little weird, but I don't know, man. It's kind of funny at the same time. I guess
it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But then once partner teams are gone, right? I'm just thinking they're not gonna have that crutch to even beat 31. They're gonna fall to 40, 50 even. Let's not don't get it twisted. When you watch them in the open quals for RMRs last time for Paris, I think. They looked horrendous, and the only reason why they made it through is Heavy got to put them on their back, and they made it somehow in the third or fourth one, I think. So it's not looking good for them by any means. And honestly, until they get that kind of thing of we're not gonna make it to any meaningful tournament, surely they will try to start. They'll either bow out of Counter-Strike altogether, or they will make valuable transfers.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm okay. I'm okay with the result.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess on that note, fellas, should we see it off there? Talk about what we've got coming up. Yeah.
Just didn't have a chance to mention about Cloud9, by the way. Like, they were kind of backed into a corner, and I think they've kind of got out with a roster that's acceptable.
Yes.
You know, like I think, don't be wrong, I'd still like to see Perfecto playing, but they've moved past that era now. I get it. Inter's actually on TSM on such a mess of a roster was doing okay. Icy, I've wanted to see him on Cloud9 for absolutely ages. Heavy God, I think he deserves to escape from the OG pain. And the only question mark, obviously, is how he readjusts into speaking Russian, which he hasn't done since he played on like Webster's with Magnajez back in the day. So
I spoke to him
it's
a
a
long
long
time, and
time.
he said it's fine for him.
It's good. That's good.
I think it's something.
I'm excited. I'm genuinely interested in this. Yeah.
One thing I will say though is if Inters comes back and is not that great, do you think there's a world that Cloud9 try and convince Perfecto back?
That could work.
If he
doesn't get picked up.
There's some offers as well. I mean, like I don't know where else he would go unless like Spirit come out of nowhere and try, like, you know what I mean? But like, it's just not. Obviously, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, why would they?
Yeah,
so
Spirit. I sort of suggested it a few months ago, saying, listen, if
Magics?
Spirit start, if Spirit start losing, like if Spirit start not making the finals and making big playoffs, like if they want to go for someone of all the money they've won from being so successful recently, I think maybe
dude, I didn't realize they're so successful in Dota, but they got unlimited money. Like
it's like you can nab Perfecto, like absolutely worth it to nab Perfecto. I mean, I love Zontix to death, and I think he's absolutely fine on this roster right now. But if he drops, that could be a change that I could see happen. But
I think I don't. Annie, do you watch Dota?
A little bit. Very little.
Did they win TI recently or like
Ooh, OG?
No, Spirit.
Yeah. They've won the last two.
Fuck it, they are sorted then. Money is chilling for them. So you know what I mean. So they actually could make big money moves. If they want to, but I don't think they need to. They're not in a rush, not at the moment. I don't think they would pre-Shanghai. Maybe if Shanghai goes badly, then they could be tempted into it.
Okay, not the last two. The last one and then 2021, but they've still won 2 TIs. So
two TIs in the last few years.
Yeah.
What was the prize pool on those again? Like crazy, right?
Bonkers.
Tens of millions or some shit like that. Like,
yeah,
I think it's a little. It's not quite like 40 million anymore because they've reduced the.
Their approximate total winnings is around 28 million. So there you go.
They're chilling, is what we're trying to say. And they've also won the most prize money this year. It's like just shy of 800k from CS. So they're doing absolutely fine, basically. Whoever owns Spirit is he's loving life right now in his penthouse, feet up in the hot tub, and that kind of vibe. We'll see things off there. Fellas, what have we got coming up over there? Trav, what have we got coming up over the next? Probably, let's say, maybe I think the next time we're going to do an episode realistically would probably be post Cologne, I think.
Yeah.
Like, maybe our end of August, start of September. Probably actually start of September.
Yeah, so I've got probably just like a nice little batch of online stuff as well, which I'm looking forward to. I've got some Thunderpick South America. I think some of the dates for Thunderpick EU number 2, which is always going to be a good one to qualify for the main event. Also, will be August. So that's to be scheduled for when we know our games. I've got a couple of sort of CCT matches dotted in and about. I've got ESL Challenger League in South America tonight in literally 50 minutes. Actually, running behind a little bit right now because the EU game between Monty and Zero Tenacity is gone to a third map. Zero Tenacity 1 map 2, 22-20 on Vertigo, and they're in a third map decider right now. So that one's going on a little bit, but I will have South America ACL tonight. I think I'm doing Red Cannons versus Sharks, which is a pretty good game.
Pretty good.
And yeah, so I've got CCT EU and South America a little bit, ECL South America and EU a little bit. Got some Hellcase Cup coming up as well. And you mentioned we'll probably won't do one until post Cologne. I will be going to Cologne. I try and go every single year. I think I've gone every single year since 21 when they actually came back. Or was it 22? I think I went 22, 23, and 19. And then the 2020 and 2021 COVID era sort of cancelled too. I've been every year since, and I absolutely love it. One of the best events in the year was there with me last year, and he definitely concurred with me on that one. It's the bucket list event if you're a Counter-Strike fan. If you've never been to an arena,
it's the best.
Go to Cologne.
I don't think it's even close. I think like it absolutely dwarfs majors. It's so good. Like it's like if you're ever going to go to an event, especially if you're the first, make it Cologne, and you will not regret it. And honestly, in a weird way, you might regret it because you can't ever like reach that height with any other event. It's just nothing beats it. Simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely love it, and I can't wait to go, and I should be seeing a lot of my friends again. Sadly, I won't be seeing you now because I think you're doing ISF question mark.
No, I will be actually over that. I'll come to that. But I'll be in Vietnam.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, true. Okay, yeah. There we go.
Adam, what have you got for us?
Yeah, I mean it's very similar to Travis. ECL for North America and South America across the board, and Thunderpick will be frequented, and I'm sure it's probably gonna be the same for you. We've been pretty close knit with the Thunderpick guys. Yeah, we've got a final together, Travis. So that'll be really fun. But yeah, I mean, I think Thunderpick's been really kind to us, and I hope we can continue to do work with them. They've got the main event in October, and we'll probably get word for it in the next episode, maybe. So we'll probably have news for you then, hopefully. Yeah. I'm moving cities in a couple of weeks across the country, and that's going to be a doozy, and that I think is probably going to be the biggest thing for me. And yeah, hopefully Cologne goes well. I will try to make it out maybe a couple of years from now, but until then, we've got the Blast Major, which is going to be a better event. So
I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be sick.
But yeah, that's about it.
I will be there for the Blast America event. I have to make unless I've got something crazy coming on, which is like worth canceling for, which I doubt is going to be the case. I'll be there. But yeah, round up me. I've got a few online stuff. Elisa, ECL, bit of Res. What else? I think it's most of it. I can't do any of the Thunderpick, sadly, and Thunderpick SA because it just overlaps with like all the other stuff I'm doing. Just like clashes, unfortunately. But I'm sure I'll be back for.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure I'll be back for EU whenever it is. One of those. But yeah, Hellcase as well. You mentioned. I'm checking now. Got ISF NA. That's gonna be pretty brutal. First game starts at 10 p.m. 3 best of threes on a few of the days. First game starts at 10 p.m. Last game starts at 4 a.m.
What the hell are you doing? God. Didn't you say you weren't going to do that after you did Thunderpick NA? They're like, no, screw this.
Yeah. Thunderpick NA actually nearly killed me. But...
Well, there's a reason why. There's a reason why you said yes to this.
Yeah. It's ISF, of course. My goats. My ISF have done me so nice. I have to pay them back in kind. I just did like 14 days straight of ISF, so they're hiring me. I'm helping them.
There you go.
But I'll be me and Scriv for that one because Anders quite smartly said, "Fucking hell no." No, but he's on another event, so it's fair enough. But yeah, doing a bunch of that, and then I guess by the next time we go, the next time we do a podcast, I actually will have done a couple of random things. I moved apartments, one of them, so I'm joining the Paladin, moving in.
Hell yeah.
3 weeks, just under.
Can't wait to see you in the US, man.
Yeah. I can't wait to move to Philly. Yeah, I'm moving like an hour away. So thankfully not too bad. I can drive there. It's pretty simple as. And then we'll be going abroad for an event that's unannounced. But you can probably figure it out in all fairness by the conversations I've had. And then I will be going for an event that is also unannounced, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's kind of cool. I did a crossfire event in Vietnam. Quite weird, quite cool. I
was asked for it, but I was like, if it was CS, I would genuinely consider it. But for Crossfire, which isn't necessarily my passion, I was like, do I want to go on an 18-hour flight for Crossfire? Listen, fair play to them. They've done me well by, giving me some of these days. I've enjoyed the company with some of my co-casters and stuff, but no, I'm not going to Vietnam for Crossfire. I will not be there. Sorry.
You will not be there. But the good thing is that just after the event, so it's like it finishes like September 1st, I think, that I currently have the whole next week off. So I think I might try and stay in Vietnam for like 4 days, something like that, and just like go on holiday, like just
explore.
Like solo travel Vietnam, basically. So
why not, man? Why not?
Yeah. When else am I going to be in
food,
Vietnam?
Man.
Exactly.
Great food.
When else am I going to be there? So that'd be sick. And then I mean, it's pretty busy. I've got one land on the 22nd. That would probably help you a lot figure out which one it is. Fly to Vietnam on the 23rd. Land at 22nd in the evening. Fly to Vietnam 23rd in the morning. Land from that, and then like 6 days later, fly to another one which is unannounced as well. So like it's gonna be a pretty busy time. But we will get some time in before then to do another episode, post-clone and all of the rest. But that being said, a lot of stuff going on, exciting times, lots of gigs and all the rest. Exactly, basically what we want. So yeah, we're loving life. Next time you see us will probably be post-clone sometime. Looking at my calendar now, first-ish week of September. Hopefully, if we can find some time around then and we're not all working or occupied elsewhere. But for now, that will conclude things. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Make sure to go and follow all the fellas. Paladin's @ is actually wrong, but we can't change that. So it's actually it's Paladin CS2.
Yes, it is.
It's not that Paladin, but it is linked below as well as his YouTube channel. And obviously, Travs is correct, so you can go and check it out over there. But yeah, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, see you soon. Also, if you're on YouTube, go and check out Twitch because he's obviously always on a day before on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, go and check out the YouTube, support your boy, and all the rest. Until next time, see you soon.